Did you know Career Tech trains Oklahoma's essential workforce?
Or that Career Tech is Oklahoma's leader for Earn While You Learn apprenticeship opportunity?
Did you know Career Tech programs are a low to no cost educational path?
Or that Career Tech can help you learn by doing.
So when Oklahoma needs us,
we'll be ready. Hello and welcome, football fans, to the Skordle Pater Pick'em Show. Skordle has a great lineup of network games on week one. We're going to discuss all of them on the show tonight with this panel of experts. Tom Nelson and Mark Rogers are here. They are the voices of Skordle. Tom will be calling the Skordle Game of the Week on Friday in Fairview as the Jackets host Kingston. We'll talk more about that game here in just a couple of minutes. We have two very special guests on, guys who have been on the show before, and glad to have them back on the show. First special guest is Tony Wilson, better known as Lugnut. Tony is a Chandler Lions super fan, one of the voices of the Lions throughout Chandler's season. So, Tony, good to have you back on the show. Our second guest, Robert Thomas, and he is a Sulphur Bulldogs super fan and former high school coach. Had him on last year as well. And Robert, glad to have you back on the show. We also have Jacob Dieselhorst on the panel as always. And also, as always, we're going to discuss our 8 Skordle Network games tonight, 2 games of the week, and then 4 of the best out-of-network games in the state of Oklahoma this week. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start in Class B 8-man football tonight with a big-time matchup between the Sealing Wildcats and Laverne Tigers. Laverne is 1-0 on the season after a 40-6 win over Shattuck last Friday. Sealing also 1-0 after a shutout 46-rip win at Snyder. Tom Nelson, we'll start with you. Who moves to 2-0 this week?
Well, before I get to my pick, I do need to say I'm really hoping that the Fairview viewership on last week's Pick'em show is way down. I'm sure we'll cover that later. But, this Laverne Sealing series has been really competitive since 2022 when Sealing beat Laverne 40-38. That was a regular season game. And then Laverne beat Sealing for the gold ball 36-28. They've each won a game the last 2 years. Sealing played last week, had no trouble beating Snyder 46-0. Rush Hunt and Blake Chain, they lead a squad that's dead set on getting back to that gold ball after they made it to the title game a year ago and lost that championship game. Laverne also came up 1 win short of the state title in B1 last year, and they had a game last week as well, knocked off Shattuck 40-6. They've got a few holes to fill, but, they're Laverne. They're going to fill those holes. But right this minute, I think that Sealing has more in the tank, and they're playing at home. I'm going to take the Wildcats in this cat fight.
Mark.
This is Northwest Oklahoma's best rivalry right now. These two teams are really, really good. And Tom's right that it's gone back and forth. Felix Teal is now playing for my good friend Garen Higgins in Emporia State. I like Sealing at home. I think that Laverne is going to rebuild, and they're going to be a factor in the race for the championship. But I'll go with the Sealing Wildcats in this game.
Like that.
I too think Sealing at home. Coach Manuel does a really good job out there, and they just find a way to reload each and every year. So I like Sealing in a tight ball game.
Robert.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it the same, guys. I like Sealing at home. A dogfight again. I think just like last season. I know Laverne does have some holes, but both teams are going to have a lot to say in who wins the championship in the end. But I do like Sealing at home.
Jacob.
This is going to be a tight game. It's good to see these two teams continuing to play every year. Like Mark said, it's a great rivalry of two of the most elite 8-man teams in the state in their respective classes. Laverne sitting near the top of B1, Sealing always there for B2. One thing that both these teams have shown in 8-man is that they actually have stout defenses as well, as they showed with their first week performances. And so I see a tight game here. I got Sealing a touchdown favorite, and I think they hang on. And I expect a defensive standoff early, but I think Sealing's physicality and probably like a late clutch turnover will be the difference. 27-20 Sealing.
Skordle.tv and SealingWildcats.tv for that matchup. Let's go to game number 2. Kingfisher will play their first game of the 2025 season this Friday against Class 4A Weatherford. This game will be played at 7:30 Friday evening in Weatherford. The Eagles won this matchup last year with a 20-3 victory over the Yellow Jackets. Mark Rogers, his history repeat itself this week.
What a great matchup. Reagan Roof left Weatherford to go to Kingfisher, and it's been back and forth. Weatherford's won the last two. You mentioned by 17, they won by 20 the year before that. Weatherford's at home. I think this could go either way. It's tough because both teams are replacing quite a few players. I'm glad they're playing, but I'm going to go with Weatherford as the home team, and it could be a close game, but I think both can have good seasons, but I'll go Weatherford.
Oh,
Yeah, this series goes way back to 1949. Weatherford has won 24 of 34 games over the years. Like Mark said, they won the last two as well. Kingfisher has won one time in 2022 in the last 11 meetings. They didn't play for almost 30 years before picking up the rivalry again in 2020. And I think a key is going to be in the trenches. Weatherford has a ton of size and experience returning on the offensive line. Kingfisher is inexperienced on the offensive and defensive lines. It's the opener for both teams. Neither played on 0 week, and I think the Eagles have a pretty big edge. I think Weatherford is going to win this, and I think it might not be too close.
Robert Thomas.
Yeah, I know Weatherford lost some key pieces, and Kingfisher, I was kind of going back and forth on this because Kingfisher returns a lot of skill guys, but as Tom said, they're replacing 4 of 5 offensive linemen. I had it back and forth. I really think it's going to come down to Jet Birdwell and what he does with his legs and kind of the creativity that he has, making something out of nothing. But I'm going to have to take Weatherford at home, and one that I think is going to be closer than some people think.
Like that.
I really think that you guys have taken all my talking points here about Kingfisher's emptiness there in the offensive line. But, this really has been a good series, but I still think that Weatherford will prevail handily.
Jacob.
Like Tom mentioned, Weatherford's got the huge offensive line. Jordan Martinez, Isaiah Raji, and Jace Rosenkrantz, all back, all seniors, and they're both sides of the football. Got to keep that in mind. They're stout in the trenches, and that makes a difference in this matchup. Is it seems like every year ends up being a defensive slugfest. And a real rivalry. If Kingfisher's going to come out on top, then Peyton Burnham is going to have to play the game of his life on the road against Weatherford. But I think Weatherford has too much experience, home field advantage, being the bigger school. I got Weatherford a 13-point favorite, and I think they win the game 31-17.
All right, game number 3, we have a 4A versus 5A matchup. Blanchard did not play a week ago, so the Lions will see their first action this Friday as they host the Noble Bears. Noble is 0-1 on the season after a week 0 loss to Bethany by the score of 21-13. Mark, who gets a win in Blanchard this week?
I like Blanchard at home. Noble played better against Bethany this year than they did last year, and they've got a really, really good program. But Lance Manning taking over for Jeff Craig. Blanchard is perennially going to be one of the best teams in their class, probably move up to Class 5A next year when they redistrict. But I like Blanchard in this game, and Noble's got a good chance to hang in there with them, but I'll go with the Lions over the Bears.
Tom.
Yeah, Blanchard's had no trouble with Noble the last 2 years. They won 61-18 and 49-0. I think it might be a little bit different this year. I think it'll be a little closer. Noble has Seth Wilson, who is a dynamic athlete, and he's going to impact both sides of the ball. They've got some talent returning from a team that won their last 4 games to sneak into the playoffs last year. As Mark mentioned, Lance Manning takes over for Jeff Craig at Blanchard. It's been a decade since he's been a head coach, and Noble lost to Bethany last week. Close ball game, 21-13. Blanchard hasn't played that game. I'm going to take Blanchard for the win, but I think Noble's going to make this one closer than it's been the past couple of years. But Blanchard for the win.
Like that.
Blanchard's been high octane these past 2.5 years, 3 years so far in their offense. And, Noble for a while back, 4 or 5 years ago, they too were. But here recently, the scores have indicated, they've just had a tough time against this Blanchard defense, and I don't think it'll change this week. I like Blanchard big.
Robert.
Yeah, Noble finished the season strong last year, and I thought they would carry some of that into this season. I thought they did pretty well in week 0 against Bethany. I think that's going to help them some against Blanchard, but I think Blanchard's just going to be too stout. I do think it is going to be closer than it's been the last couple of years, but I like Blanchard at home.
Jacob.
Noble's got Jackson Steely back under center, senior quarterback. They have 2, wide receiver cornerbacks back, a lot of Nate Stanridge and Jordan Cox. Having senior leadership makes a big difference in these early games. I think in the season, Blanchard's got a new quarterback, Noah Smith. The kid's got size, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's got a lot of depth and speed all over the field. Blanchard is one of the best teams in 4A year in and year out. I think Noble's an improved team this season. I think they'll carry that momentum from last year and push for the playoffs. But I got Blanchard 11.5 point favorite. And I think Noble keeps it closer than that, but Blanchard comes out on top 28-17.
Skordle.tv, BlanchardLions.tv for that matchup. Let's go to game number 4. Cashion Wildcats open the new Maxon Field in style on Friday with a big win over the Hennessy Eagles. Cashion will now hit the road to take on Velma Alma. The Comets have not played a game yet in 2025, but won this matchup a season ago by the final score of 30-20. Tom, tell us about this game.
Years ago, I went down to Velma Alma, did a playoff game down there, one of the great small school atmospheres you're ever going to find. Then Cashion opened up their new stadium last week. They scored the first 41 points in 3 quarters against Hennessy, including a 28-point second quarter. We talked about how much improved they're going to be, and we think they're back in that mix for the gold ball in that class. Velma didn't play. They sat back and watched, and I'm sure that Riker Sander at linebacker is chomping at the bit to get going. Coach Norton calls him the hardest worker he's ever coached. Now, last year, Velma Alma beat Cashion 28-20, and I think Cashion's going to get a little payback on the road in this series this week.
Mark.
Yeah, Cashion with a big win last week, 41-13 over Hennessy, and there was a couple of years there where they were down. Coach Shack a little bit to rebuild. Cashion is in the mix to win the Class A state championship this year in Division I. Rejoices up there and really tough for everybody to catch. But Cashion is going to be right there, I think, as a challenger. So I like Cashion to win this game. Should be good. Velma's a tough place to play, and Velma's a really good team. So, but I like the Wildcats.
Robert.
Yeah, Cashion, I know Coach Shackelford, like you said, they were down a little bit, but I know he really likes this team he's got and what they've got building. Thinks they're getting back to what they were for several years there. I think they'll have revenge on their mind, and I also just think playing that first game before the other team is a big advantage in high school football, as I experienced it when I was coaching. So I like Cashion to go down there and take the win.
Tony.
I like Robert's point about Cashion being able to already have that game under their belt. I'm kind of torn between these week 0 games and the first week games of, watching Guthrie last week. I think it would behoove them greatly to have had 2 more weeks of practice against a really good total team. But this time, Cashion takes a long bus ride down to Stevens County, which Mark said, is one of the greatest places for small school, and Tom as well. But I still like Cashion's offensive ability, and I think they come away with a tight victory.
Jacob.
All the firepower they can get going on the road at Velma Alma. Velma Alma won this game last season. They have Slade Strickland back at quarterback. This is going to be a really tight football game. Last season shows Velma Alma kind of won the line of scrimmage and rode little bully ball to win that game. If they can keep that same kind of slow pace, slow the pace down, then I think they can stay in this game. I've got Cashion a 3.5 point favorite on the road, and I think they win this game. But I see it tight. Cashion 27, Velma Alma 21.
Could be a close game in Velma. We're halfway through our network games. Let's go to game number 5. We have an A1 versus 2A2 matchup this week in Minco as the Bulldogs host Dibble. The Demons have not played a game yet in 2025, but Minco looked very impressive in a 44-0 shutout of Hinton last week. Dibble won this matchup big, 36-6 a season ago. Mark, give us a preview.
Yeah, I think Hinton is rebuilding under Josh Cooper this year, and it'll take them a while to get going. And so I like Minco. You mentioned they won last year by 30. They've got this game on their home field. I think Dibble's got a chance to have a pretty good football team, but I'll take the Bulldogs over the Demons.
Tom.
And once again, you've got the team that played last week and the team that didn't, and Minco got that first game out of the way. The Bulldogs had dominated the series until last year when Dibble surprised them 36-6. The Demons returned quite a bit from last year's 5-5 team, including a solid offensive line, some aggressive playmakers on defense. Minko's the ranked team, though, and they have almost all their offensive and defensive starters back from the team that went 7-4 and made it to the first round of the playoffs, losing to Hooker. This might be my toughest pick of the week right here. I'm going to go with the team that played last weekend and the team that's at home. So give me the Bulldogs over the Demons.
Lugnut.
It seems like every time that I'm fortunate enough to be a guest picker on here, we talk about Minko and how well they're playing, and it just seems like that they have they've established something there, and again, you guys talked about the week 1, week 0, and so I too like Minko and playing at home.
Robert.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Minko as well. I think it's a revenge game after last year and the thumping that they took, and then they've already played. They're playing at home. I'll keep it straightforward. I like Minko in this game.
Jacob.
This is going to be a contrast of styles football game. Minko's coming off a very impressive win at Hinton, at 44 blanking. Jason Mercury, the senior quarterback, played really well. Sebastian Valdez, senior tailback, had a big game and is expected to be the load bearer for that offense. Dibble, they've got some size especially on the outside. Like a big 6'4" receiver, Reese Merrick. And the question is going to be how does Minko match up with Dibble's size and athleticism advantage, especially some of the skill positions. Home field's going to help. I think it's going to be a really good football game. Dibble's offensive line, Dibble's toughness is going to keep this game close, but I got Minko a touchdown favorite, and I see them winning the game 28-21.
7 surgeons, 5 locations, 1 goal: to improve the health and lives of people in Oklahoma. At Oral and Maxillofacial Associates, we treat every patient like family. As the preferred dental implant and oral surgery specialist of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and with over 30 years of service to our community, we are trusted by professionals and dedicated to expert care. With 5 convenient locations around the metro area, we are here for you. Trust the experts at OMA. Visit our website, www.omaok.com.
All right, guys, game number 6, Chandler and Stroud will face off in Stroud on Friday. This will be the first game of the 2025 season for both teams. Stroud prevailed in this matchup 21-14 a season ago, which propelled the Tigers to a 12-1 season. We're going to start with Lugnut on this one. Tell us about Chandler and who moves to 1-0 on Friday.
Well, the thing that we need to know about Chandler is our numbers are terribly down this year. We sued out 25 kids. We had 37, 38 last year. We've had some people move away. But the people that we do have are very skilled and very talented. And it's going to be the brothers Wade that lead the way for the Lions. The senior, Javarius, is going to be, he's a slasher. He'll be starting at tailback. He's a cutter slasher, and he'll make you miss. And then little brother Darius is going to be the wide receiver, and he's going to be called on to catch some balls. And if he makes somebody miss, he's gone. Very talented, very athletic. And but it's just going to be, keep talking about the trenches. We replaced 4 offensive linemen ourselves, starting a sophomore quarterback against a very good Stroud team. And they've lost some people from their state semifinal team that lost to Davis, eventual state champions last year. But Carson Beck, their do everything running back, to my knowledge, is out for this game with a wrist injury and possibly next week as well. Now, you know how that goes with reports, but I really think that if we can take care of the football, that we'll be okay. And I think the Lions may come away with a 26-22 win.
Mark,
A little
good luck following that
homerism,
up.
but that's okay.
We've had complete consensus so far on this show. I think we're going to go away from that here. And I get all of my Chandler information from Lugnut, and he's told me they had 18 guys out. So he's sandbagging a little bit with what he tells me.
We got a few more, Mark. We got some basketballers that came out late.
They got some new guys out. Stroud still has Aiden Collins, is a really good player. I know that Jacob Beck is probably hurt a little bit. They got Jeremiah Kropp at quarterback. They won 21-14 last year. I know there's no way that Lugnut can risk his snow cone fortune by picking Stroud in this game. I'm going to be the first to center tonight of the group. I'm going to go Stroud in a close one. But if Chandler gets those numbers up to 30 by game time, I have the right to reverse my pick.
No chance of that, partner.
Tom, let's go to you.
This series goes back to World War II, and while Route 66 between them has morphed into the Turner Turnpike, they still don't think a whole lot of each other. Stroud's win last year gave them a 13-12 lead in the series since the turn of the century, and this is a battle of teams that have talent back and should be in the mix deep into November and December. It's been a very streaky series, and I'm going to pick Stroud to win their second in a row. So I'm going to be a contrarian as well on this one.
Robert.
Yeah, I know Stroud had a great season last year. I know Chandler is trying to work their way back. We finally got some switch ups on the show, but I cannot dare get on this show and pick against the legendary Lugnut against his Chandler Lions. So
Thank you,
I'm
Robert.
actually going to pick Chandler to avenge that loss and just keep that series just as close as it's been. So
You're my favorite sulfur person besides
yeah,
Russell
there we
Hobbs.
go. Yeah.
And Jacob, let's go to you.
This has turned into a really fun perennial game. Both these teams are always, very competitive. Stroud has really, become a very consistently good team year in and year out. They return a lot of senior leadership. Crop, Jacob Beck, and Tristan Baker, the two backs that they like to run the ball. Stroud really runs the football. Chandler's got a young signal caller. Jarrett Gibson, I think, is going to get the start. I believe he's a sophomore. I might be wrong about that.
He left.
Okay, well,
He's no longer
again,
with us.
who's playing QB for him, Lugnut?
It'll be another sophomore, Clayton Ritchie.
Okay, Clayton. So the Ritchie kid. Okay, so he was pegged to be
Right.
a star off the edge. Does he still come in off the edge too as an offensive linebacker, or they switched him to one side of the ball
No,
now
that's
that he's
big,
playing quarterback?
That's Big Brother. That's the linebacker.
So the Ritchie brothers are going to, and the Wade brothers are really going to have to come through if Stroud's going to win this football game. Chandler's going to win. If Chandler's going to win this football game, rather. I just think Stroud's senior leadership's too much. Home field advantage is too much. I got Stroud a 11-point favorite. I think Chandler keeps it closer than that, and I got Stroud winning the game 24-18.
All right, guys. Go ahead, Lugnut.
This game, Tom talked about it, but we're in like year 108. It's really older than World War II, and I mean it's been a bloodbath. And a few years back, the Oklahoman, when they went through some of their top rivalries, it was more games, but it's been, man, it used to be 5 or 6 people deep. There'd be 7 or 8 highway patrolmen there because it was just, there's no love lost in this one. I assure you that.
It's a great rivalry.
Looking forward to looking forward to your call on that game on Friday. Let's go to our first Skordle game of the week, and this is a school network game of the week. So you'll be able to watch this on Skordle.tv, WashingtonWarriors.tv. Those guys in Washington do a great job calling and producing games. So glad to have them as the first Skordle game of the week this week in week 1. Washington 1-0 on the season after a 35-6 win over Community Christian last week. Much tougher test on tap for the Warriors this week as they go on the road to Sulphur to take on the Bulldogs. This game was an absolute instant classic matchup last year with Washington winning 27-24 in double overtime. Mark Rogers, can Sulphur pull off the big upset at home this year?
I think they absolutely could pull off the big upset. I do want to go back a little bit to the Stroud-Chandler rivalry. There are a handful of games that have been played for over 100 years in the state of Oklahoma. Stroud-Chandler is one of those. Cleveland-Hominy is another one. Sapulpa, Sand Springs. I think the longest continuous rivalry is Chakotay-Eufaula. So I love the rivalry aspect of those games. I think it's really, really cool that those two communities have kind of grown and stayed the same throughout the years. So I appreciate all those great rivalries. And Sulphur-Davis is going to be another great rivalry coming up. Hey, Washington is good. And this is not anything that is a surprise to anyone, but Case Alexander, a couple of touchdown passes last week, receptions. Creed Barrett was really good. I think Washington may be better than they were last year. And Sulphur's rebuilding a little bit. And so I think we're going to have a little bit of dissent here too. Sorry, Robert. I did find it surprising that the Massey ratings had Sulphur a 20-point favorite in this game. I don't see how they come up with that number at all. I think Sulphur is really good. I'd love to see them challenge Lincoln Christian again in Class 3A. And I love some of their personnel, but I think that Washington goes on the road and wins this one in spite of the fact that Sulphur has got a ton of motivation to try to atone from that loss last year.
Robert Thomas is not happy over there, so we're going to go ahead and go to him and let him discuss Mark's picking Washington for this game.
Well, listen, 20-point favorite is just insane. Washington's not getting beat by anybody remotely close to their size by 20 points. So That was pretty wild. Yeah, Washington is just very good. They're going to look a little bit different. I think last week they tried to sling it quite a bit. I'm interested to see what they do because 2 years ago when they beat Sulphur, they ran it a lot more, rushed for over 200 yards. Last year they kind of threw all over Sulphur. I just think the experience of Washington just puts them in a different metric. They're just so experienced and so confident when they go out there. Sulphur's got some great players. Maddox Mobley, the Navy commit, Mr. Do It All. He does a little bit of everything. Colton Cole's going to Rice as a tight end commit, also a great kicker. Sulphur replaces 4 of 5 offensive linemen, guys that played a lot last year, but replacing those offensive linemen are going to be tough because I think Washington is always underrated in the trenches because you look at the skill guys and get obsessed with them, but they just do a great job. They're well coached. They do everything right. I think that this is a game that on paper Washington should probably win, but I'm going to say that the commitment from Sulphur to avenge that loss with the couple missed field goals from Colton Cole last year, I'm going to reverse it and say that Sulphur wins by a field goal, a game-winning field goal from Colton Cole this year. Oh, another tidbit, Kel Brakefield, move-in quarterback, came from Washington. He was a starting linebacker for Washington. He's the cousin of Creed Barrett, the starting Washington quarterback. So that's another fun aspect to go in that game as well. So
Great breakdown by Robert Thomas. We need to get him on the Skordle broadcast this Friday. So well done, Robert. Tom Nelson, let's go to you. Washington at Sulphur.
Yeah, Washington is 5-0 against Sulphur all in the past 5 years. But as we've talked about, the Bulldogs have given the Warriors some of their toughest battles during that 44-game winning streak they're on. You talk about the studs that Sulphur has, and I'm not going to, Maddox Mobley and Colton Cole, going to D1 players. But it comes down to, and we've talked about it already on the show, is the team that played a game last week and the team that sat back or maybe went and watched that game last week, who's got the advantage. But until they give me a reason to think differently, I'm going to pick Washington. I think this is going to be a close one, but I learned my lesson picking against Washington a couple of years ago. I'm going to keep picking until somebody gets it.
Lugnut, Robert took Chandler. Are you going to take Sulphur?
Man, you guys got me pinned in a corner here. I got nothing but love for Robert, but Tom's right. How do you pick against the Warriors? I mean, they've just figured out a way to get it done. They dodged the bullet twice last year on the 2 missed field goals that could have won it for Sulphur at Washington. But, I don't like it as a 2A1 member when Mark Rogers says that they're better this year. That doesn't bode well for the rest of my cronies in 2A1. But sorry, Robert, I got to stick with the Warriors, but I got nothing but love for you.
Jacob, let's go to you.
Sulphur's really testing itself to start the season off, playing their 2 opening games against 2 reigning state champions. They open against Washington this week, and I believe they play Lincoln Christian next week. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Well, Washington is the first challenge in that gauntlet, right? And with Creed Barrett coming back, even though he's a sophomore, the kid was one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the state last season. But Sulphur's home field advantage is I think it means a lot, and I think revenge means a lot. I see this being a really close football game. Sulphur and its home crowd always brings it. Revenge is going to be on their mind. In the end, though, I think Creed Barrett might have just too many tricks up his sleeve. But I see this as a lot closer football game. I got Washington a 6-point favorite on the road at Sulphur, and I have them winning the game 28-27 and somebody's going to miss a field goal.
All right, guys, let's go to our second Skordle game of the week, our last network game that we're picking this evening. We'll have Tom Nelson and Adam Dieselhorst on the call for this one in Fairview. The Yellow Jackets looked very impressive in a 56-0 win against the Alva Goldbugs last week. The Jackets now host the Kingston Redskins, who beat Medill 64-2 a week ago. Mark, that has to be a scoregami, right? 64-2?
Yeah, 64-2 means that bridge is going to be painted red and white down there on the way to to the lake. So that's impressive. But yeah, not many games you see 64-2. That's something that you say when you're trying to demonstrate how much a game was lopsided. They won 64-2, but that was actually 64-2.
Tom, you're calling this game, which was just another instant classic a year ago. Give us a preview.
Well, both teams made statements in rivalry games last week with blowouts, basically shutout wins. Kingston won the Marshall County Super Bowl, got to paint the railroad trestle that Mark talked about. That's on Highway 73 between the two towns. Get it painted red and white. It was red and white last year too, so they just get it touched up a little bit, change the names. Their quarterback is Reed Patterson, a really good dual threat quarterback. He had 2,800 yards and 36 touchdowns a year ago. He scored a touchdown on a long run on the first play of the game, first play of the season for them last week. And they're going to try to get the ball in the hands of Parks Ratzliff as much as possible as well. He got into the end zone last week. Logan Stevens was injured most of the year last year, had a nice touchdown run. They've got a lot of experience returning to a defense that gave up 17 points a game last year and basically pitched a shutout to start the season. Fairview, they made me look bad after picking the Gold Bugs last week. They crushed Alva. It was 22-0, 6 minutes in. Alex Houck had 5 touchdowns in the first half, and I watched video. He was just strolling through the Alva defense. That offensive line was just blowing up huge holes for him all night long. Aiden Nightingale picks up for Jax Bernard at quarterback and looked pretty confident. Gold Bugs are a good team, and Fairview just swatted them away. Very impressive. Last year, Fairview went to Kingston. They won that game 35-28. I think it's going to be that kind of a game. Lots of talent on both sides. I'm looking forward to calling it.
Mark.
Tom should do the right thing and pick Fairview, even though he's calling the game after last week. I mean, they had me arrested one year in cashing in the school zone, I think, after I picked against them. So I will just tell you, be careful. Make sure you're obeying all the traffic laws when you go to the game. The only thing I can add to Tom's analysis is that Ridge Cottrell had 15 tackles on defense. The school bus ride is a long way for Kingston. I think that Fairview was a really good team last year, went on the road and won that game in over a 3-hour trip. So I think Fairview's been underrated. I've been talking about it for 2 weeks. I like them to win this game again. Kingston's really good. That long bus trip plus the talent at Fairview, I think probably the Yellow Jackets edge out the Redskins in this one.
Hopefully Tom and Adam get some Mark Rogers bars up in the press box on Friday.
Well, they're not giving Tom any Mark Rogers bars.
I was going to say, I'm wondering. I think I'll be okay. But I'll be sitting on a bus. I'll be broadcasting the top of a bus on the visiting side, I'm afraid.
It's okay. Tom, you remember that I was on the wrong side of a 56-0 score as well a couple years ago in that Cub Doug Garber game. So It happens to the best of us.
Robert, let's go to you, Fairview and Kingston.
Yeah, I think I've shown that I'm pretty loyal to the people on this panel, so I'm trying to remain that way. But even though some of them didn't return some of that lug nut, but that's all right. I think in this one, the game was really good last year. It was a lot better. I've learned a lot about Fairview since getting to join the show last year. So I know it's a really good program. I know Kingston, the coaching staff, feels really good about what they have. I think my head wants to say Fairview, but I think I would rather go with just a friendly wager. And I think, Jacob, if Fairview can win, then I'll send you some sulfur swag that maybe you could wear. And then if Kingston comes out with the win, I'll pick Kingston. I would like to rock something Fairview if you'll have that friendly wager.
I think this is the first friendly wager ever on the Skordle Pater Pick'em show. So I like this. Jacob?
Yeah. Well, I'm not much of a gambling man. So,
we're just going with gear. Yeah. We're just going with friendly gear.
All right, deal. Bets on. The Houck kid, get ready. This kid's going to have a huge year. He is a stud, and they're going to. And Fairview is one of those teams that over the past few years when they get a lead on you, they know how to extend leads. And but Kingston's not going to let this game get too far out of hand. Reed Patterson, the senior quarterback, Parks Ratzliff, the senior tailback, a lot of experience, a lot of this is a team that's used to winning. Fairview's a team that's used to winning. Something's got to give in this game. I think home field will be a big difference. This is going to be a great football game, though. I got Fairview an 8-point favorite at home. I think Kingston keeps it closer than that, and I got Fairview winning at 35-28.
Lug nut.
3.5 hours on a yellow dog is a long ways, boys. There's no doubt about that. Kingston, I think, has some senior leadership. I talked to a guy down there earlier, said that they really are kind of pleased, and Medill obviously is 64-2 is an anomaly game, but Uh, I don't know. Fairview, like Jacob said, in the years past, they've really put a good product out on the field, but not so fast. Kingston is going to recover a fumble late and win 33-30.
Wow.
All right, Skordle.tv for that matchup. Shout out Taylor Weebner, athletic director at Kingston, former Alva Gold Bug. So a guy who's been to Fairview many times, and I'm sure he's enjoying coming back to Northwest Oklahoma this coming week. All right,
One
go
thing,
ahead, Tom.
one thing real quick I want to say is I hope, Lugnut, I hope you're right. Not necessarily who wins or loses, but I want to call a 33-30 kind of a game. That's the kind of game. That's the best part about it is have a close game. I don't want a blowout. So
Andy,
Kingston's good to win this game.
There's been a massive disrespect to the Fairview Mafia that's going on, and I know we don't talk about that. I mean, that's just we don't talk about those types of things. But I would expect the panel to be changing up from this show pretty quickly.
Hey, I figured this would be my only shot this year, so why not?
those guys will be getting the call back in 30-32 to be back on the show.
Tom got both his knees whacked last week after that 56-0. I mean, he's paying the price. So get ready, Lugnut.
Matter of fact, I'm talking right now from the bottom of the Cimarron River in my cement boots.
Hey, Mark,
you not disrespect the Skordle Pick'em show by going against Fairview. This is unbelievable. I don't know. I got the
Mark, last year I did the ceiling game at Cashion, and the Cashion police got me as well, so don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, they're tough.
I also got pulled over by the Cashion police with a 6-week-old screaming in the back, and he took 25 minutes to write me a ticket. So
you could add worse things in the back.
Fair point. Fair point.
We'd had to call Jacob at that point.
That's
good thing you know a lawyer.
That's exactly right.
I will have. Sorry, but how do you choose? I will have. The old-fashioned banana split sends your taste buds to heaven. But the strawberry shortcake sundae tastes like summer in a dish. Then there's the molten lava cake sundae. Oh, but the banana fudge sundae, I'm truly.
Sir, or you could get all four.
Let's do that.
Come enjoy your favorite classic sundae at Brahms.
All right, guys, those are our 8 network games. We're going to quickly discuss 4 non-Skordle network games that'll be played in the state of Oklahoma this week. Cannot watch these matchups on Skordle, but again, these will be great games if you're able to attend. First one matchup is Stillwater at Tulsa Union. Mark Rogers, kick us off.
Wow. This is one of the bigger upsets I thought last year in Oklahoma high school football. Stillwater knocking off Union in a nail biter. Union had won 17 in a row before that. Union lost last week to Bentonville, Arkansas. They beat them last year in a close game, lost this past week in a close game. Antonio Graham back at Union where he played. I mean, this is a coin flip. It could go either way. And I own no mob ties to either school here, so I'm going to go with Union in a close game. I could go either way. Stillwater's certainly capable of winning this for the second year in a row, but I'll go with the Redhawks.
Tom.
Well, I just happen to have some free stories left on the Tulsa World, and Bill Haston, he called the Redhawks game last week against Bentonville a mess. They committed 15 penalties, gave up 234 passing yards, got out physicaled by Bentonville. It's not the Union we're used to. The final score was 28-14. Stillwater's probably not a team to get well against. I'm going to take the Pioneers in this one.
Robert Thomas.
Yeah, there's going to be talent all over the field. Interesting right up there. That's crazy to hear from a Tulsa Union team, but I think that Union did get to clean up some of that stuff in week 0. Hopefully they'll get a chance to clean that up and turn it around. Both teams are extremely talented. I'm impressed with how Stillwater just continues to reload and they don't seem to be going anywhere. But I'm going to take Union at home in this one.
Man, I got to pull some Chandler bias here. My man Tyler Bridges is the new superintendent at Stillwater, so I got to go with the Pioneers in a squeaker.
Jacob.
Yeah, that was a surprise big win by Stillwater last season, and now they get to go to Union and see if they can recreate that same magic. I think Union coming off of last week's disappointing loss when they obviously didn't play well, and with revenge on their mind, is going to have something to prove. You know, if they're going to beat Stillwater, they're going to have to control the wide receiver tandem, Deacon Jones and David Thomas, the two big wideouts for Stillwater. But, you know, Tulsa Union has its share of talent as well. Z Buckley, a senior wideout, is a stud. Million Moore is the QB coming back from last year. And man, I just think that Union at home, revenge on their mind, coming off a loss that they didn't play well. And I got this game of pick 'em. And I think Union's going to pull out a close win, 28-24.
Shout out Coach Kaywood at Stillwater. Those Pioneers do a great job hosting the Skordle 7-on-7 Cowboy Clash every summer. So really appreciate those guys at Stillwater High. Let's go to our next non-network game, Jinx at Owasso. Tom Nelson starts off.
Well, Owasso's won 6 of the last 8 against Jinx, including that 3-point win in the semis last year. They still trail in the all-time series 52-18, though. But, Jinx won big over Edmond Santa Fe last week. Owasso had it handed to them by Bixby, as everybody knows, 49-21. But in that game, Jayden Hall ran for 150 yards on just 15 carries, averaging 10 yards a carry against Bixby's defense. Owasso had over 200 yards on the ground and 190 through the air. Pretty balanced offense against the Spartans. It just tells you how tough Owasso's schedule is when your bounce back game after Bixby is against Jinx. And I think Owasso does bounce back and wins a close one.
Mark.
Adam Gaylor in his first year at Jinx really, really likes his team. And they, I mean, if you want to talk about covering the spread, they beat Santa Fe last week 51-6. So, I mean, I think that was a game that I wouldn't have predicted Jinx to win by that much. Owasso was the runner-up last year. They were undefeated until they played Bixby in the championship game. Coach Blankenship is one of the best that's ever done it in the state of Oklahoma. And in Class 6A in Tulsa, sometimes what happens early in the season can reverse late in the season. And I have no idea what's going to go on the rest of the year. But I think Jinx is going to win this game. I think that they will they'll beat Owasso and Owasso. I know they've had Owasso's had the better of it lately. But I think Owasso's still trying to regroup a little bit. They had some defections. They had a couple of players that left in the, I guess you can call it the high school transfer portal. But I think Jinx is the better team when these teams line up on Friday night.
Plug that.
You know, I watched, I had 3 different games going last week, the Guthrie Total, listened to Mark some on it. And I was watching the the Bixby and Owasso game. And it just seems like Owasso, you know, up front, they're big, obviously, but it just didn't seem like that they were very mobile. I like Jinx's defense this year. I think they're going to be dominant throughout 6A, but I too like the Trojans in a tight one at Owasso.
Hey, before we go to Robert, Lugnut just brought up Mark on the call for that Total Guthrie game last week. Mark, do you want to tell our audience what happened prior to the Total Guthrie game? You discussed it on your radio show a little bit. I think it maybe needs to be discussed on the show.
Yeah, I would love to. We were treated to a lovely dinner at Ken's Steakhouse, which is about 10 miles south of Tuttle. It's an incredible place if you haven't been. They cook the steaks right in the middle of the restaurant. When you walk in, they give you a free rib. There's never any place on the planet Earth I've been before that give you a free rib. But they also put on the table, pretty inconspicuously, a honey bear. And honey is nature's food. It's pure. It's good for you. And then when the dinner is served, they bring you a bucket of Texas toast, a large helping of butter on there, and they don't explain to you that the bear and the toast are meant to be enjoyed together. Well, the basket was passed around, and Adam politely said no to the Texas toast, and I looked at him like, what are you doing? Anyway, so it didn't take long for someone else at the table to have the Texas toast, apply the honey bear and the honey to the Texas toast, and you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So hopefully Adam will go back there and enjoy the dessert to the fine meal at Ken's Steakhouse.
Yeah, Ken's is as good as it gets. I'm just sorry that Adam kind of disrespected the
One other thing that
restaurant.
hasn't been discussed, Andy, is that Adam also did not have the beans when he went through the salad bar. So I don't know if Adam looks like he's in good shape to me. I don't know if he's watching his weight. I mean, but that's a terrible thing to have to worry about when you go to Ken's.
Tom, any greasy Steves in the press box last week at Pond Creek?
Yes, we did have Greasy Steve in the press box, and I went light with the chef salad, but Doug Nelson, I think, had the grilled chicken, and of course, Greasy Steve is also the PA announcer for Pond Creek Hunter football, so he was up there, and he didn't deliver the food personally because he got there a little bit later, but always a good time and good food at Greasy Steve's, and we appreciate that as well.
All right,
And
go
I
ahead,
will
Tom.
also add, Adam deserves credit because he did not mention if he wanted to throw somebody else under the bus that Hunter Shepherd poured half a bottle of A1 steak sauce on his sirloin. And A1 is fabulous, but it totally disrespected that steak, and I hope nobody else was watching when that happened.
Hey, Hunter could do what he wants, Mark.
You're right. Hunter can do what he wants. He was taking pictures, posing with the people at Ken's Steakhouse, but I think that we all can't talk anymore about the A1 on the steak.
All right. Well, we digressed a little bit with some food talk, which happens from time to time on the Skordle Pater Pick'em show. Let's get back to our picks. Jinx at Owasso, Robert Thomas.
Man, I love how Mark called Lugnut and I out for disrespecting Fairview and the host, and then you just took a timeout to just go at him right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jinx and Owasso, man, talk about two coaches that are just great human beings and builders of men. And I'm excited for Coach Gaylor to get his first stint as a head coach. And I think Jinx and Owasso are both extremely talented. It's really tough to go against friend of the program and legendary head coach, Coach Blankenship. But I think that, as Mark said, Jinx really likes their team this year. And they've actually been talking about some of these kids since they were in junior high. And so I think some of those kids are finally there. I think Jinx has an excellent team this year, and I'm going to take Jinx in this one.
Jacob.
This is going to be another one of those classic East 6A1 battles. Owasso coming off a disappointing loss against Bixby. Jinx with a dominant win. Man, hard game to pick. That's why I have it to pick them. But I just think I kind of agree with what Mark had to say. Jinx running game, Katie Jones running the football. I think it's just going to be too much. And Owasso's got some things they're still working out. Don't get me wrong, Owasso will be there. They got one of the best coaches of all time on the headset. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I got Jinx 28-24.
All right, guys, two more non-network games to pick. Let's do Ardmore at Ada. Mark Rogers.
This is I think, a true kind of pick 'em game. Ardmore is a lot better. They've kind of gone through a rebuilding phase, and they started a lot of freshmen last year that are now sophomores. But I really like Ada. I think Ada's got one of the better teams in Class 4A, coach's son at quarterback, and then talent all over the field. This game is this is like a Sulphur Davis game that could go either way. Huge rivals, kids know each other, they've grown up around each other. But I'm going to go with Ada to get the win this year.
Yeah, they call this one the Battle of the Cats in Southern Oklahoma. Ardmore picked by the coaches to finish third in that tough District 2 behind Tuttle and Blanchard. Ada is a top 5 team in 4A. Ada has one rivalry game in hand already. They went on the road and beat Durant last week, while Ardmore went to Altus. That's a long bus ride. For the first time, they lost to them for the first time in 10 meetings. Ardmore won this game big last year, but I think it's going to be Ada that gets to 2-0 this week.
Robert.
Yeah, I was like Mark, I was pretty torn on this game. Ardmore really put it to Ada last year. I like both these coaching staffs. Coach Newby does a great job building a culture down there. He's been down there forever, does an excellent job. Ada, I think I had them coming into 4A as one of the most improved teams in the state. I really think that they've built a defense that they like. And I think this year that defense is going to do a better job of containing Ardmore, even though Ardmore got a little more experience than they did last year. I like Ada at home this year, and I think Coach Rourke's defense is going to shut Ardmore down a little bit better than last year.
Lugnut.
You know, having lived in Ardmore for a few years and just watching their high school sports programs, sometimes you just never know what you're going to get out of Ardmore. But this game is always one of those, it doesn't really matter who's doing what at the particular time. But I think it's going to be too tough for Ardmore to win on the road in Pontotoc County. So give me the Ada Cougars.
Jacob.
Yeah, another rivalry game, year in, year out. Forget about the records. Forget about the rankings. These two teams match up. Ardmore punched Ada in the mouth last year, big time. Ada's got a lot of advantage in coming in this game, though. They're at home, and they've got Brock Boyles, the senior quarterback, coach's son, a 4-year starter under center. They've got Dawson Matthews up front, who's a monster, a Memphis commit. Devontae Lindsay, another senior on the outside, who's Boyle's favorite target. I just think that's going to be too much for Ardmore to handle. Ada at home, revenge on their mind. I got Ada an 8-point favorite, and I think it's a push, but Ada wins at 28-20.
Our last pick'em game, Cassia Hall at Rejoice. Tom Nelson.
Oh, Cash was on the wrong end of a pretty big upset last week at Holland Hall. They lost the Hall Brawl 27-6. And I saw a video of Rejoice's Noah Goodwin just trucking over guys in his way to scoring 3 touchdowns, going to win over Noah last week. Also saw today that Zizi Okafalizi was offered by OU. He's a big-time talent for Rejoice. And Hall leads this series 3-1, but they're also the bigger school enrollment-wise. The last time Rejoice lost was 12 games ago, exactly 1 year ago this week. They lost to Cassia Hall. And I'm picking Rejoice to get it done this time.
Mark.
Yeah, Tom and I both called the Fairview game with Rejoice last year, and once we learned how to say Zizi Okafalizi, we basically are going to try to show it off anytime that we can. So, no, I think that's really cool. I mean, he's grown and both gained some weight, 6'5", like listed at 225 pounds, and I think that if he does end up at OU, they can really, really use him. Camion Compton-Nero also, I love. I think he's going to end up being one of the best Oklahoma high school football players we've seen in over a decade. He's just that talented and hasn't really played football for more than a couple of years, but he can run with a football. He had a huge week last week against Noah. I mean, I was really surprised by the Cassia Hall loss to Holland Hall last week. I thought Cassia, with the experience that they had coming back, is going to be one of the teams that could potentially challenge Lincoln in Class 3A, and that didn't happen. I think that Rejoice is going to get the win in this game. They're too good. They got a lot of players on this squad. They do a great job with that program. So I think Brent Marley's team is going to get the win here.
I think Lugnut's going to disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, come on, fellas. I mean, the Pope was on the board of directors at Cassia Hall, so he didn't probably like that they lost last week. So he's probably going to do a little anointing this week. The Commandos are going to win at Rejoice.
Robert Thomas.
Yeah, this is one of the ones where, well, first of all, last week shocked me as well because Cassia was one of my teams that I had pegged as one of the most improved teams in 3A this year that could challenge Lincoln Christian if anyone can. But I think this is one of the cases where Rejoice has the best players on the field, possibly the top 4. But I think Cassia is going to have a little too much depth. I think in the trenches they're going to take a stand there as well. And I think that that depth and then that rebound game from last week, I'm going to pick Cassia in this one.
Final pick, Jacob Esource.
Hey, this is a classic private school non-district opener with, bragging rights on the line. Like everybody said, Rejoice Christian's loaded, so much talent. Both sides of the ball. Cassia Hall has Barrett Mullen back, 3-year starter. I think he's Cassia Hall's all-time leading passing leader. Coming off a down week and a surprising loss, going on the road to the A1 reigning champions. I've got Rejoice a 4.5-point favorite, but I just feel like I see an upset here. I got Cassia Hall winning the game, 31-24.
Am I on an island on this one?
No, me too. Me and you.
Okay,
you got Tom. All right, thanks, Tom. You got Tom.
All right, very good. No, I feel good. I feel good about that. I'm telling you right now, I'm calling my shot on Camion Compton-Nero. I mean, I think that he has enough talent to kind of transcend some of those issues that are real when it comes to depth and I think experience on the offensive and defensive line. So it'll be a great game. It could go either way, and I do think that Cassia, will want to bounce back from last week. So I completely agree with Robert's analysis to this game. I expect it to be a really good one, but we'll see what Rejoice has in store.
Well, and whichever quarterback outplays the other team is going to win this game. But it's going to be that matchup between Mullen and Compton-Nero. Whichever quarterback has the better game that team's going to come out with the W.
This is completely out of no game that we had, but how bad does Lincoln Christian beat Heritage Hall? Don't they play this week?
Man, Heritage Hall is really confident for some reason. Their defense, Heritage Hall's defense, really good. I was surprised they blanked Clinton the way that they did, but last year,
terrible.
Last year, in my opinion, was the year to pop Lincoln. I really think, and so
where is that game?
At Lincoln Christian.
Lincoln Christian by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I just think Lincoln Christian is too talented overall. I really think last year was the year to pop them, and they're a really good ball club.
Yeah, it was funny calling the game last week at Pond Creek. Doug Nelson, who is the play-by-play voice on their live stream for Lincoln Christian, he's got his laptop open over there, and we do this 16 to 6 8-man game, and I'm watching as the game is going on. And I think Lincoln Christian went up 63 to nothing at some point, and he was happy to be in Pond Creek celebrating his 40th anniversary with his teammates. But he won't get no 63 to nothing this weekend. I think it's going to be a good ball game.
I watched you guys broadcast. Tommy did an excellent job. Did Van Shea take you all cow tipping after the game?
I've done my share. I've taken people cow tipping before. I'm from Western Kansas. So yeah.
We can't fool you.
That's right. You can't fool me.
You can probably fool Jake, but we can't fool you.
What about snipe hunting, Tom?
What's that?
What about snipe hunting?
Yeah.
Done a little bit of that too. Yeah.
I think they might have dragged Maine and Enid instead.
Now,
how's Oakwood Mall doing?
Not good.
No comment.
It struggles.
No comment. I will tell you this.
Wranglers and Toughskins there.
Pond Creek Hunter, I posted a picture on my Facebook page. It was 8 years ago. I did the game of the week there. My radio days at their old place. They built that new stadium 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I tell you what, Pond Creek Hunter Stadium with their turf and just the money they put into that place, and more 8-man schools are doing that. But very, very impressive facility, and I got a lot of great hospitality. I know Tanner Bowman wished they would have played a little better though. So.
And built to the 8-man specifications as well,
yes.
Right? I mean, the narrow field, that's really cool. They did a great job with that facility.
There's a lot of green space between the track and the sideline of the football field. So yeah.
Well, how about a tip of the hat to Mother Nature too for cooling things off just in time for football? I think everybody's pretty happy about that.
Definitely, no doubt.
Thank you for joining us on the Skordle Pay Dirt Pick'em show tonight. Be sure to tune into Skordle.tv and the Skordle app so you can watch all the network games that we just discussed. Thanks as always to our sponsors and our guests tonight, Lugnut and Robert. You guys do a great job. Really appreciate having you on. Look forward to having you on again in the near future, although with the favor you pick, that may or may not
They're
happen.
never coming back again.
They're never coming back. So
Adam's already texted me 6 times.
Enjoy all the football this week, Oklahoma. We'll see you next week.
If you get your ankles broken, go to see Matt Dieselhorst. He'll take care of you.